Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Hope you're enjoying our newly refurbished office building. We had a mold problem several months ago, and we have that taken care of. So now hopefully all you're smelling is paint. and fresh paint and what I think new carpet also. So anyway, we are, if the equipment cooperates, we are live streaming this on YouTube. Okay, I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Since we don't have a quorum today, this is not an official meeting of the ACND commissioners. Instead, I am here, and hopefully Jack Wright will be shortly, and along with our staff and consultants, and we are facilitating a presentation by representatives from Sonray LLC, who are proposing a development plan for the harborfront property, which is generally north of Market Street and east of Water Street, and as you all know, it's adjacent to our downtown area. And I want to make sure everyone understands that this session is for information purposes only. We are not negotiating any terms of an agreement or a lease between the ACND and Sonray, but in discussions they have new information they'd like to present to the public, and we are happy to facilitate this for them. Let me introduce, some of you may not know all the people we have here. We start with Janine Loney, who is our acting ACND director. She's in the middle of preparing the grounds and staff for our busiest weekend coming up, and we really appreciate her taking the time because this is a busy, busy woman. Next is Jerry Benedum, who is has been our general counsel for more than 20 years, and he is our expert on Texas Water Code, Texas Municipal Law, and I believe, a certified trial attorney? I am, yeah. All right. And then we will have, hopefully, Jack Wright, who is another commissioner. He's a retired banker and former RFISD school board president, and since 2024 has represented Precinct 3, where this development is located. I'm Judy Velasic, and I am a retired journalist who specialized in municipal government and business, and I have represented Precinct 1-1A, which is in the southern part of the county, since 2011. Next, we have, you guys are not in the right order here, okay. We have Wade Green, who is our development advisor / consultant, and he has been working, he's worked previously in developments throughout the state of Texas and throughout the nation, and he gives us very valuable advice that we follow, usually. Not always.
It's up to y'all.
And last, we have Keith Barrett, who was our executive director for 18 years until he retired in 2025, and he grew up in Rockport, and he's here to give us some background information on this property. I'm presuming that we have some people here who did not grow up or may have never been to Rockport, or only infrequently, and so Keith will fill in some of that information for us. I just wanted to say to begin, the district's been preparing for the development of this property for many, actually decades, and we've invested several $1 million in getting prepared for this, staff time, infrastructure, and I think that's what Keith is going to speak to now. Would you like to start us off?
Would you like me to kick it off?
I would love for you to do that.
All right, I'm going to kind of get out from around this desk. I tend to roam around while I talk. I'm going to use this map quite a bit in my explanations to give everybody a little bit more of an insight of the property that we're talking about. The property that we're talking about is this whole entire piece. I'm going to take you back about 17 years. We entered into a negotiation with Bass family for a land split. In those law books that used to sit in my office, there's one little paragraph, just one, in all of the water code that talks about how you can split land to straighten the boundary line. We used that paragraph and spoke with the Bass family and see if they were interested. And we went to Austin and testified in front of the school land board and got that approval. And that sounds easy in a couple of sentences, but you don't realize that negotiation basically took years till we finally got an agreement that both the Bass family and the navigation district could agree to. We had to get our representatives from our local government all the way up to Austin and Washington, our congressmen, to support it, and basically get us on the agenda at the school land board. Jerry and I know I wore out one vehicle going back and forth to Austin so many times on so many meetings. But the negotiation that happened here in Rockport with the Bass family set the table for being able to split this property. What a lot of you didn't realize, or may not realize, is the land that we're talking about was patented land that went to the district in 1925. And those pieces were a little odd. We had a piece here, and a piece here, and maybe a little piece over here, and then the Bass family had some pieces here and here. So it looked like a jigsaw puzzle. And that jigsaw puzzle is what kept all the past developments from happening. Who could build a development with part of your building sitting on two property owners, and one of which could never sell the property? That would be the navigation. That patented land came from the state. So when we went to the school land board, they agreed to use that passage in the water code to allow us about 3.5 acres of patented ACND land to go towards the Bass family, and the Bass family about 3.5 acres that came to the district. And what that did is it created a boundary line about right here, with all of their holdings being to the north and all the ACND holdings being to the south. And a lot of people ask, why did we push them that direction? Well, the Bass family had an agreement with the Jackson family over here, which acquired that piece of property. The ACND already had a big chunk down here with many of you, if you've had any history here, that's where the old surf court was. So when that lease ran out, a 60-plus year old lease ran out, that property was not released and it was razzed, and that became a logical place to push all of the ACNDs to the south and the Bass family to the north. That's what really started this whole thought of actually being truly able to develop this property. Next, a few chain of events started happening. We went out for a bond a little bit before I became the director for improvements around the harbors, Cove Harbor and Rockport Harbor. It failed. It failed pretty good. When I came on board, we decided to put out for another bond election in '07. That '07 bond election, what we learned from the first failure is a lot of people in our community was not going to get behind the project. And I don't have a better way to say it, unless there's something in it for them. The comments I received is, we don't want to build a breakwater to protect 150 old men's boats. What is a breakwater? A breakwater is a pile of rocks. But when we put it out the next time, that breakwater had a big concrete sidewalk, aluminum handrails and lights, and once a section of where the surf court was, we put a nice parking lot. So now the runners and the joggers and the photographers and all these different people within our community can see value in that bond election. That breakwater that protects this section of land would not have been made possible without that bond election. That breakwater is 80 train car loads of stone from Marble Falls, Texas. That really changed the harbor and its protection. The sand that was migrating, and you can still see some of it, from South Rockport, Water Street, was going up into the harbor, basically limiting the harbor's use and shallowing it up to a point that might be dangerous for navigation. That sand that you see here went all the way to here, all the way up in the harbor. This whole thing, we had a little strip that you could get by and get in the harbor. We started saving in each budget cycle, anywhere from 50 to 200,000 every budget cycle, we put in a fund for dredging. And we let that build. That was a project so large that one budget cycle could not fulfill its need. We finally got to a point that now the land was split, we could go in here and dredge in behind and basically make the harbor not only usable and feasible, but that piece of land, it carried much more value now that we have the ability to get deep water boats in there. That project started just before Harvey, and we were about halfway finished with that dredge project when Harvey hit. We had to shut down the dredging after Harvey. There were 23 boats sunk in Rockport Harbor alone, not counting the debris and things that were littered across the bottom of the bay. Not counting all of our buildings were gone. Of 9 bait stands, 5 were missing. The 4 pavilions down here were completely destroyed. So a lot of the focus of the district went towards that reconstruction, rebuilding, and cleanup. So we got, after that, we kind of got that behind us, we went back to our dredge project and completed it. That thing was completed and we really felt pretty good about it. Our properties were pretty much rebuilt after Harvey. The harbor was dredged, and lo and behold, the COVID pandemic struck. The COVID pandemic kind of put a squash on a lot of things. We had put this property out for an RFP. We gathered quite a bit of interest, but after the COVID scare and our country basically turned upside down for those few years, that really kind of put a stop to some of those inquiries. The next, during the Hurricane Harvey, that I wanted to bring up was this piece, that big breakwater. That breakwater, when Harvey hit, was about 100 years old. When Hurricane Harvey came, the waves crashed in and undermined the whole outside of that big breakwater, basically tilting it outboard. A lot of the inspectors from FEMA fought back on funding it because they knew it was going to be a big number. I fought with FEMA and the different agencies for 4 years. Finally, I got a representative that came down all the way from DC, and we walked that structure, and he finally saw the need. The reason he saw the need is we didn't look out here towards the open water. We turned around and we looked back towards the land. What he saw was a new courthouse being built, a new city hall being built, the jail, the fire department, 2 churches, 2 schools, and all of the downtown merchants. What I told him was, why would you spend so much taxpayer money within Rockport itself and not give it the protection from the open bay and from the Gulf? He agreed, and then the funding battle started, because what they thought a project like that was worth and the actual reality of construction were 2 different things. The inspector from Iowa knew a lot about corn. He didn't know much about marine construction. So in trying to educate them on what it was going to take to rebuild that, the rock came in from the hill country by rail, then onto trucks. From trucks, the stone landed right here in Rockport. From there, it went on the backs of barges, floated across and set on the bottom with large cranes. Hundreds of tons of concrete was used to pour the cap. That project, at the end, was $4 million. So when you talk about the preparation for what's going to happen on this property. We have $1 million bulkhead, breakwater, we have $1 million worth of dredging, and $4 million on that big breakwater. All in preparation for what was hopefully to come in the future on this property. That's kind of the history behind how we got here. To say it's taken a long time, yeah, it has. To say that there's been a lot of money expended, there has been. The bond money alone, over the last 12, 14 years, we've been paying out on just the bond alone from $490,000 to $500,000 a year just for our bond payment. Just for our bond payment. And that's what took care of these things. At this point, that is kind of my history of Rockport in this site. But I wanted to give you a little bit of knowledge that you don't get from the street, what you don't see when you're just standing there. This view kind of tells the story that a lot of things cannot. Other than that, I guess I'm open to any question. Yes?
I have a question. You referred to the property being acquired in 1925. I'm pretty sure the patent was 1936.
Well, it might.
So I just wanted to be clear that we're on the same page.
That was when the district was formed through the legislature.
Right.
But, yeah, this property, because of the moving shoreline and things like that, before a lot of these bulkheads were replaced, before the Corps and some of these others were, I guess, putting the records to the extent they are now, those boundary lines were a little bit all over the place with the two property owners having intermingled property lines. But that land exchange solved that. And now, and having solved that, it truly makes it possible for something to happen down there. Yeah. Any other questions from anybody?
Very thorough, good job.
Well, that's kind of Harborfront as we know it.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Keith. As always, you know a lot of history, and that I think that gives us some good background. Okay, now then, I would like to pass the meeting over to Sonray LLC, and I think they will be, would you like to introduce your folks, please? And Scarlett has asked for 30 minutes of an uninterrupted presentation, so let's please hold all of our questions until she's at the end. Thank you. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Keith. Can everyone hear us through the mic?
Did you turn it on?
Oh,
There we go.
Hello?
Green light.
You hear me now? Okay. All right, thank you, Judy, and thank you, Keith. Scarlett Embry, Sunray LLC, we're a boutique development company out of here in Rockport. And our project is Rockport Marina Village. And before I go in too much on our proposal to you guys, I would like to make a quick intro to Sean Garrettson. You know, we've been working, I'll give you a little background, we've been working on this for 4 years when we first initially walked on the property and then went and met with the Bass representative up in Fort Worth and started engaging with them and starting our due diligence. So it's been a long process. We learned very quickly that we needed to get the TERS in order to make adjustments to the deficit, the land value deficit. And so we initially did our due diligence, we figured out the rough numbers, we pursued the TERS because we knew we were gonna need that, and then the TERS passed, and, well, it passed, but it hasn't been formed. And so anybody who has seen our presentations and, you know, is wondering what the latest is because we have actually been on hold because as it was before, back in 2000, one, when Lewis Robinson had this property under contract. And I know you said that there was no lease, but I did meet him myself. He said that he had an agreement with y'all, but I don't know what it was, whether it was a letter of intent or an MOU, and then he had the Bass property under contract. He passed away about a year ago, but I did meet him, and he had a huge master plan for this property. And so since then, he actually pursued the TERS and was not able to accomplish that TERS. He actually took it to city council. He had Zarin Architects, which is the architect that designed Beaver Creek, do a master plan. So he had all his numbers, and they went to city council, and it was declined. And that was the reason why he walked away from that development deal. So here we are. You know, it was great news in December of 2024 when the TERS passed through City, County, and Navigation District. And so we've spent a lot of money. We've moved, we've done a lot of the preliminary planning since then to get ready for when the TERS board actually forms, so that we can put together, put in front of the TERS board a development agreement. But nothing is actually fundable until, it's not bankable until the development agreement is in place. So just wanted to give you a little backstory on that, because so during this time, we are a little bit on hold, like I said, pending the TERS, and we have recently gotten introduced to Sean Gerritsen. He is an Austin-based developer. He's got 25 years of development experience, but that's all I'll say about him for right now. I'm gonna let him speak to his own credentials, and then I'll do the presentation after he talks.
Thank you, Scarlett. Afternoon, my name is Sean Gerritsen. I'm with Pegasus Planning and Development out of Austin, Texas. Kind of like you, we do work all over the country. In fact, I was down here right after Harvey. They asked me to do a housing study after that, which was a pretty dismal picture, as you guys can probably imagine. Also have a lot of experience working with the Matagorda Navigation District, so look forward to having that relationship again. In one of my previous lives, I was only an economic development consultant, similar to Jeff, and I really appreciated what you had to say, because not only the history, but it underlined two things for me. Economic development, and Jeff can speak to this, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's unfortunate, right? I mean, you want to be able to have those jobs right away, but it takes a long time. And the other thing is, economic development is how the public sector can spur job growth and economic development. So everything you guys have been putting in place, that I didn't do all the math on that, but it sounded like around 8 to 9 million or something like that. Applaud all those efforts. But what it is now going to be creating is what we are hoping to develop. And it is a lot of jobs, a lot of tax base, and we're very excited about it. I have been doing development all over the country, mostly in Texas. The last 10 years, I've kind of gotten out of the consulting world. But I've been spending the last couple of months completely under the hood of this development, looking at all the different financials, understanding all the concepts. I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe in this project. I think you guys received a letter from the Bass family echoing the same sentiment. I'm excited to get going on this project, and as Scarlett has mentioned, we're so close. It just involves a couple of other things. The leases with the Navigation District are a piece of that. And I've looked at those numbers, and I think, in the end of the day, number one, we did do the appraisal. I think we combined efforts on that and looked at who the appraisal was going to be. She'll talk about what that appraisal looks like. We've looked at an example lease that you guys have, and so what we're proposing is a very similar kind of a lease term. But at the end of the day, she'll talk about this, but the amount of revenue you're going to be getting over a 50-year lease term, and then owning all of the built environment at the end of that term, it's significant. So look forward to working with you guys. I'm going to let Scarlett continue with the presentation. Just wanted to introduce myself and look forward to work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. All right, so let me make sure that I'm doing this right. How do I change the slides? There we go. Okay, so what I'd like to discuss today, just want to do a quick overview. I'm not going to go into my other slide deck that is mostly Bass property focused, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Bass Harborfront progress, some of the ACND improvements that we want to add, how it connects to ACND Marina and Land, and the comparable leases, Key Allegro and CH Marina, and our Bass adjacent submerged proposal and our ACND land and submerged proposal. And if anybody has not seen some of these images, this was just a quick overview of what we're planning on the Bass property. The Bass property improvements are different than what we're planning on the Navigation District land. The restrictions on the Navigation District do not allow any kind of residential, so all of our residential will be over on the Bass property. And we'll have the downtown living, dining, restaurants, nightlife, park, boardwalk. We intend to extend the entire boardwalk across through the Bass property and then through the Navigation District, which will also require the bulkhead to continue over there. And then incorporating public art, even a public park with live music potentially. We're planning a music pavilion over there, retail shopping, and daytime boat parking, marina, and family-friendly activities. These are some of the improvements that we have looked at for Navigation District property. If anybody has heard of or been to the hub, there are 2 locations, but it is not just a amphitheater that is just there for occasional use. It's actually everyday programming with restaurants and retail all the way around it. With the programming, they have, kids' movies on certain nights. They have concerts. They'll have, we could potentially have fishing tournaments over there. So we would plan our larger stage over on the Navigation District property, and even potentially sell seats. And we would have a permanent shade structure, not a tent because of the wind. But these are just some of our inspiration pictures. And putt-putt, you would be surprised that actually we ran the numbers on that, and it is a very lucrative business. It only takes half an acre, and you can tie it to a restaurant. And so, right now we're looking at potentially 3 restaurants on the Navigation District property. Our market study showed that there was a demand for even more than 10 restaurants based on the drive time, the number of visitors here. We'll be rolling them out in phases, but one of the restaurants would be the putt-putt, with basically the putt-putt is the lawn. And these, as far as from all of our studies on the Navigation District property, these are allowable. And then also the forms are rebar reinforced concrete, and so they're hurricane proof. And they do really well in high wind zones. And then, of course, the development of the marina and restaurants. And this is our rough site plan. Everything that is orange on the Bass property is residential. So we have everything planned for the Bass parcels already. The blue is a parcel for a hotel. The orange is Restaurant Row. As we've always said, we promise to keep the Aransas Bay facing development 2 stories and Restaurant Row right here. And then on the north end, we will have townhomes. That'll be kind of a more secluded 3-story townhomes. But Phase 1A and Phase 1B are going to be townhomes with retail below. So it'll really have that feel of being able to walk down the street and go into a shop, and people will be able to buy a unit with their townhome above and be able to lease out the space below or run their business, have a law office, have a retail store, anything that you want. And then the blue is the retail. And there'll be a ton of public parking. We're already meeting the parking requirements with our contracts with the Bass property. So we don't need the Navigation District for parking for us. We're already meeting our own parking requirements. But our vision for this property, tying it into the Navigation District, is that bulkhead and the boardwalk will continue, and it'll be the full development and experience that we believe that the public wants to see. They want to see this developed, and they want to see it developed really nice. And
one of the main allowable uses on the navigation district is maritime use. So we were told, and right now this temporary, this pending site plan, this is something that is just our vision. So on the Bass property, we already planned it. On the navigation district, what we're wanting is to plan this with the navigation district. We want to collaborate with them. We know that they wanted a dry stack. So if we're gonna build a dry stack that they want, then we're gonna build it and make it look really nice on the outside so it doesn't look like a dry stack. And then have a lot of public amenities that are for families and tourists and locals to all enjoy together. And then whatever the necessary parking is required. And the marina development, right now, we had initially wanted to develop this marina first, but after a few meetings with NAV district commissioners, we got the idea to build the marina in front of the Bass property first. So what we're seeking today is we're putting two proposals in front of them, which will be the submerged lease in front of the Bass property, and then a separate lease that is land and submerged, this south area. So it's two separate deals. But we wanted to simplify it and keep it in two separate proposals so that we can move forward with this one as quickly as possible. Because right now, with our plans, as soon as the county has formally joined the TERS through interlocal, our development agreement is going to go in front of the TERS board, and we're ready to fund it. You know, we're obviously assembling the team. We're ready to get going, and we'll be kicking off our deeper dive of planning beyond just the land plan. You know, we'll be doing a full set of architectural concept drawings and everything with the civil planning and the bulkhead and engineering that we need to do. Another reason why we really want to develop the navigation district property is because not only the bulkhead and boardwalk infrastructure is going to be important to connect all the way through for the enjoyment of the public, but also the drainage. And we want the drainage to connect. There may be some streets, for instance, this street, this is the property line right here of Bass property, and we want to have the street go through. This is a right-of-way, so we want to have, you know, this is Main Street, and so we want to have our new street go all the way through to meet Main Street. And so there's going to be some street infrastructure and some drainage infrastructure that are really important to connect. You know, and if we develop one and the other one isn't in the right timeline, then it could mess us up, or we would have to have a roundabout at the end of that. So we feel like it's really important to plan this together. And then also the city is planning their Austin Street development right now, and so we want to work with them on connecting drainage and infrastructure. So so that is our site plan. I guess I'll take to the next slide. This is just another view of potential navigation district development site, and we could potentially even have a restaurant and bar on the rooftop of that dry stack building. But the bottom line is we want to plan this with you guys. The improvements that we want to make, we obviously will follow the law in terms of what's restricted, and we are going to be seeking an option period so that we can pursue that deep dive into the planning, just like we have with the Bass property under contract. Oh. It's not. It's not. I'm doing the wheel. Oh, there. Okay. Let me make sure. For some reason, it's not really working. It was working.
Maybe the battery. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. No, it's still not working. Maybe I'll have you just turn the slides for me.
Just tell me next.
Okay. It was working and now it's not. Maybe. Okay, yeah. So what we've already done, and a lot of the time and investment that we put into the Bass property, is we've done 24 borings across the Bass property, 8 geotech, and plus the environmental borings, which they came back 3 separate times to dig and do the discovery to find out what was wrong. We got the work confirmed 70. It was the geotech borings were down to 100 feet, and the report came back that we're going to need pilings as deep as 70 to 90 feet to stabilize anything taller than a 1-story building. And also, we got approval from TCEQ on the remediation scope for the Bass property. We have not done any borings on the navigation district site, but we do know what has to be done on the Bass property. It's already approved by TCEQ, so we've already gotten past all of that. And then, of course, we've done all of our preliminary land planning on the Bass property, cost estimates. We've done a 50-page financial model. We have gone through that over and over again. We've been working with our consultants and forming our team. And so with the tours in motion and all of the properties that we need under contract, it's a ready-to-go project. So as soon as certain things happen, what we're waiting on, we can move forward. You can go ahead. So the 2 things that are holding us up right now is the TERS interlocal, which I've heard is almost ready, which I've heard that's very good news, potentially could be complete in the next few weeks. And then ACND lease, obviously. And the reason why we really have to have the lease, especially on the submerged bass, the area adjacent to the Bass property, is because in our studies, a harborfront property like that, they're going to want their slips. And there have been developments even in North Padre where people backed out when their slips weren't ready in time. And so we expect that the boat slips are going to create the demand for the townhomes, and the townhomes are going to create the demand for the slips. And so they really go hand in hand for a waterfront marina side property like this. And we don't want to rely on anyone else to build it for us, because that could mess up our timing. People could back out of their contracts. And so we want to be able to control the timing and really have a concierge level marina. So you can go to the next slide. So we looked at 2 comparables that are ACND leases. We looked at the Key Allegro Marina, and we had put together prior to this a proposal that we had really just kind of put together with our attorney, because we hadn't seen these comps yet, and we had not seen any appraisal yet. And so we had put a proposal in front of them on September 9th of last year, and it didn't progress. I think there was some confusion about it, and so I asked for these comps, because the comps help us to see what kind of leases they're doing with their other lessees. And that was really important to us to understand. And so these are the terms, 30 years plus a 20-year option. We looked at their rates per square foot with the increase and the escalation schedule and the application fee. And so we really wanted to mirror that, but also make some allowances for what we have to deal with, because there is no bulkhead. And so we can't start construction on docks without a bulkhead. And so it's going to be, for the Bass property, we're going to have to wait until the bulkhead is complete. Could be over a year of waiting before we can even start docks construction. And then with the navigation district,
same thing. We have to complete the bulkhead before we can do any build any docks. You can go to the next slide. So the rent schedule, these are the actual square footage and payments that they receive. And we are basically mirroring that, except for we're asking for a little bit of ramp up time. And also to keep in mind that the price per square foot on land in Key Lake-Row is a finish, it's a high demand, it's our nicest, most premier waterfront neighborhood that we have. And it also, we've asked, but we think it already had a bulkhead when the docks construction began on Key Lake-Row Marina. But that's something we really want to talk to you guys about in the future when you're ready to talk about it, is how we can structure this lease. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is our proposal. The premises is a little bit smaller, 149,270 square feet. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is the area. It will be pending and concluded with a final survey. But this is the numbers, this is the amount of square feet that we're seeking to develop. The part that is within the keyway is within the property line, so that's not part of the lease, but we will be developing those marina slips over there too. And so the main basin, 127,900, and then 11,130, 10,240. So 3 different areas combined. And through the survey, we'll figure out the final square feet. And you can go to the next slide. So comparing to Key Lake-Row lease, and then looking at that with an intro rate that gives us some more time for building and planning, that's roughly what we would be asking for, and subject to negotiations, but that's what we're putting in front of you. We're trying to do something that is more digestible, that's really aligned with your other comps. You can go to the next one. Then we looked at the CH Marina and Dry Stack, term 25 years and 25-year option, 5.521. It's mostly land, same application fee, the year 1 rate, 0.524 square foot per year. You can go to the next slide. This is their lease schedule, that's what they're paying. And you can go to the next slide. This is our proposal for the land and submerge in front of the ACND property. And you can go to the next slide. This is the leased area of the submerged, and then above that is the property that we want to develop. And you can go to the next slide. So comparing it to CH Marina, we're mirroring the lease proposal that they have, and then our land offer comes in at 46 cents per square foot. That was what the appraisal came in at. We only just got this appraisal on Friday, so it was a lot to put together over the weekend. But we had mutually paid as dual clients with the navigation district for an appraisal, because it was really hard to figure out what should we be paying on a lease for this. So we figured we would rely on the appraisal. And with that, we would mirror the exact escalation percentage and schedule of CH Marina, which is mostly land. You can go to the next slide. Our submerged offer also goes back to mirroring the Key Lake-Row with our build-up time and our intro rate that is lower, because it's just going to be sitting there holding on to it while we're waiting for the bulkhead to be finished. So you can go to the next slide. The annual lease revenue to ACND combined is significant. It's over $5 million over a 30-year period, so over the 50-year period, it will be significantly higher than that. You can go to the next slide. And these are roughly your totals of your revenue based on the appraised lease rate. And you have all of these printed out for you guys to look at.
You do,
So
okay,
you can
thank
go
you.
to the next slide. So one thing that I really want to emphasize here is this property is, it's really special, and it's the future of Rockport if we allow it to happen and if we come together as a community. And like I said, Lewis Robinson had a full master plan for both properties back in 2021 through 2024. 2001 through 2004. He walked away in 2004 when he didn't get the TERS. And right now, we just need a few more pieces of the puzzle for us, because this isn't simple. We haven't been here to just do a construction project. You know, this is a legacy, this is our future, these are, you know, the future for our kids, this is the future for job creation, and it's also a really thoughtfully curated development that is actually being designed by Stephen Levy, who was born and raised in Rockport. And he now owns 3 offices, 2 in Austin and 1 in Corpus Christi, the Levy Dykema. But when he was a child, he went to this property, and you know, he had great memories of it, and it was even his thesis project when he was in college. So they've got an incredible development team, you know, through their architecture office. And it really does take a team that is ready, and it takes the community and the jurisdictions, you know, the government, the local government entities, to come together and to make this work. And Navigation District is a really important piece of that puzzle. And we have always asserted that we want to work with you and we want to collaborate with you, and we want to keep a friendly relationship through this entire process. We would, you know, kindly ask for you to look through this proposal. We have it all printed out for you, and we would like to have a follow-up meeting. Doesn't have to be a public presentation, but we'd like to have a follow-up meeting because we really need to, on our timeline, we need to know, because we're getting ready to raise capital, fund this deal, and move forward in a huge way. Our closing date is July 9th of 27, so we're 1 year out of closing, and the closer we can get to a lease agreement on this Navigation District property, the more we can have that marina plan engineered, designed, and ready to go, so that it all happens in the right timing and in concert with one another.
Do you know that we already have a bulkhead permit and a marina plan already permitted?
I have seen it, yes, and our marina designs would be a little bit different than yours, but yeah, I saw that you guys had that in your RFP a few years ago, so I have a copy of it.
How long does that permit last before it expires, you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
So
was done by Atkins out of Galveston, the same one that did Pelican Rest, the big floating docks, really to set up for the big offshore sport related vessels, which are right now inquiring for lease space.
Okay.
Those were floating docks, you said?
Yes.
Was it Bellingham, or do you happen to know?
We had several different groups, but similar, yes.
Yeah.
one thing that I should probably ask you guys is that your website states that your lease rates are $6.50 per linear foot, and that's an upside down number for building a new marina. Kind of the break-even rate for us, looking at recent cost estimates, is about $11 a square foot. I mean, a linear foot.
Those new floating docks would be under a whole different pricing
Right.
schedule. I mean, it's not the same. It's not apples for apples.
Different target audience, too.
Yeah, but y'all are the lowest priced marina in the whole coastal bend. So it does make it a little bit, unless you're completely leased out, it's we'd love for y'all to get up to more of a market rate on those slips so that we can, because because you, I mean, really, you should. I mean, you're missing out on revenue.
You're also looking at, we've done surveys all up and down the coast, and you get quoted rates versus their actuals. You get transient rates plugged in that mix and match, and you have to really interpret the data. And, you know, market is what market is in any particular harbor, or any particular section of a harbor, any particular use in that harbor. So, I always like to go up.
I do have a question. Have you started the permit process for the bulkhead in the marina in front of the Bass property?
No, so that's our next step. You know, a lot of people ask, you know, why haven't you started planning that, or why haven't you started getting your permits yet? And it doesn't make sense for us or for anyone, even if it was, Endeavor developing this. The property, the Bass property is a, tens of $1 million deficit underwater on the value. And so that's really important to understand, that the reason why developers have tried and failed is because there is a deficit. You can't raise capital on a losing deal. So the question to ask isn't, where's the money? Why haven't you moved forward on these development plans? The question is, how can we as a community come together, and the government entities, to create an opportunity where there is none? And the TERS is exactly that, and also the combined efforts of having the marina, being able to develop the marina and the land.
Right.
And so we can't, we're on hold for the TERS interlocal agreement, but as soon as that's done, our next order of business, as soon as we have, at least with you guys, and especially in the adjacent Bass submerged, then what we get to do is we will immediately put our development agreement in front of the TERS board. That actually makes it bankable. That makes us be able to finalize our commitments from our investors. So we have investors who are waiting, who are excited about this, but the numbers have to make sense, and they don't without the TERS. And so we have to have that done. Then we go into immediate planning, permitting. The whole next year, the next 12 months is going to be a lot of that planning, assuming that the TERS board is formed in the next few months, passed in the next few weeks.
Keith, what is the time frame on getting those permits?
Golly, permitting is a new hell, I guess I would call it. The permit to get that one breakwater took 2 years to get. When you're doing a nationwide permit where you've already had a bulkhead in place, if it's not drastically different than the one before, you may can get it under a nationwide permit. But if you have to go out for a full-fledged new permit, you're talking about a couple of years. There's things that you never would envision being a part of a permit. We had to have a study to say that there's not a manatee in Rockport Harbor. It's a seagrass studies and so forth. I argued with the Corps quite extensively. I guess I have a real love-hate relationship with them and them me. But the fact is, permitting is a challenge. That's why having the existing harbor marina already permitted and bulkhead, that's a big step. Also, power requirements. In Rockport Harbor, there's 30 amp to 50 amp power around the harbor. These new boats are wanting 100 amps per. They want to run the air conditioner and the microwave, and they want it to be like home away from home. If you look at the little buildings through downtown Rockport, most of those little buildings only have 100 amp power to it. So the marina itself will have more power going to it than the entire downtown Rockport. So power constraints, fire and rescue constraints, we put a lot of that thought into that marina plan. We went with a developer that's used to doing upscale, high-scale marina developments in Atkins that do them in Florida and East Coast. So those things will have to be considered.
For sure.
Water Street, you've got.
Accessibility issues.
Yeah, Water Street, and then is Water Street will effectively need to be widened. There's taking land, I mean, this could take a while. And that is not, that has been only discussed, but there's no initiatives that are in place to try to address. And then you've got upstream drainage, before you get to the drainage, it gets, I mean, so it goes, so there, this is a project that
Yeah.
is gonna take, continue to take some time and joint efforts between whether it's the landowners and all the agencies, et cetera, private capital.
Yeah, and we have gotten initial drainage drawings on the Bass property and
Okay.
cost estimates on that, so it's part of our
It
numbers.
almost runs out.
Yeah, yeah, so we already have a design for that,
I
so.
think there's one other item that I'd like for the members of the audience to understand. Jerry, would you like to explain the problems we have? Not problems, but the requirement that we go to the GLO for our property that you have to approve?
Well, Scarlett's already alluding to this. Property that's owned or controlled by the district must be used for navigation, within the navigation district's legal purposes. So that relates to water use, navigation, general conservation, activities for wildlife. That's why, as you pointed out, you can't have a resident, or two residential use. You can't put a condominium on the district property because that's really not navigation.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, yes, and I understand that.
And I believe that we have to also, this site plan must be approved on this particular property.
Well, not too much exactly the site plan itself, but the develop, I have been, as far as I've already talked about this, in order to get the GLO's nod on the usage, they're gonna want to see the actual development plan, so they can make a decision whether or not they think the properties and the aligned with the district commission.
Okay.
And this ties back to some extent with what Keith was explaining. When the property was locked up in the agreement with the Massacs, the district's patent line kind of wanders through that property. But in order to get the general land office and the school land board to approve the swap, we had to agree to apply that restriction, that navigation purpose restriction, across the entire property.
Yes,
Without that, there was a strip or two here and there that would have been covered, but that blocked up everything, it made the rules the same all the way across.
yeah, yes, I understand. Does anybody have any other questions from the audience?
What's the total value of all the development that you're proposing on the navigation district when it's complete?
It's about 70 million on the numbers that we've run on the improvements that you all would get at the end of the 50-year lease.
That's on ACND only?
On ACND. So the Bass improvements are around 150 million, and the ACND improvements would be 70 million by our calculations.
Okay.
But what,
At the end of 50 years.
no, the value upon completion of the construction with current per square foot market values. And so one of the things that we would be glad to do is if we could proceed forward on negotiating the submerge adjacent to the Bass property. We would like to proceed that negotiation forward. And in the meantime, we're happy to do a deeper dive into the land planning. We have done some initial site planning and running numbers and calculating square footage. We've done some 3D renderings with actual square footage of what we are planning on your property, but we can do a much deeper dive and, present that to you at, potentially the next meeting, so.
Okay. Okay. It probably will have to be at our meeting, the second meeting in July.
Okay.
Because our next meeting is on Monday.
The 4th is gonna really get tangled
And
up.
that's exactly right. The 4th is a very, not disastrous time, but it's a very
It's
intense
the
week.
busiest week of the year.
It is. Thousands of people will be descending on us, so
Yes.
it's not realistic to think we can even look at that on July 6th. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, yeah, possibly the next one, yeah.
We'll aim for the next one. We'll stay in touch with you on that.
That sounds good. And then we did make copies of the
Good.
proposals for you, so you have the full, it's a rough term sheet, subject to negotiations, but we want to understand, what y'all are looking for as well.
Right.
Provide those in a PDF format.
Sure.
So
I can email it later.
Janine has what you
Okay.
had presented, right?
Yeah, we have printouts, and then we can email it too.
Okay, so we have that.
So, okay, thank you so much for
Any other
having us.
questions from the audience for anyone here?
I have a question.
Yes.
I just want to say, as a resident,
Would you like to identify yourself?
Christy Rutledge.
Okay.
I live here for 24 years. As a resident and a taxpayer, I have no interest in this property other than to say this is a legacy project. It should be congruent between the developer and the navigation district.
Right.
If you want to screw something up, give it to the government to do. Let a private developer come in and make that entire property planned out perfectly the way she has it. I'm full support of this. It corrects a lot of our budget problems that we have at the county and at the city because of the revenue that will come in once this is fully developed. Not 50 years, but once it's fully developed. Get it going. Y'all been waiting a long time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Pat, Ms. Russo, who is our county commissioner for precinct 3.
First, I want to say I'm glad you had this workshop meeting. Second, I want to say thank you to John Jackson, because I did not know you were having this meeting until about 2 hours ago. So I
Thank you,
rearranged
John.
a schedule. Yeah, thank you very much, John.
Well, it was in flux for a while.
It's all right. I just hope the next time I know about it a little sooner. I am very much in favor of this project. I know that there has been delay, and right now it seems to be in the county's ballpark. We have attorneys, neither of whom are our official attorneys. We have attorneys who represent us, who are outside of the county, and we have the city, who also has an attorney that is not a city employee, but works for the city. We went back and forth on the contract terms on the ILA for quite a while. I believe we are almost there and hope to have it presented and approved, because there's been a lot of conversation about it in closed session, and we're waiting on something to come back from the city.
Right.
And I didn't know I was going to be here this afternoon until, like I said, John said, hey, if you're not going to be in budget workshops today, come on over here. I'm not going to be at the first meeting that we have at Commissioners Court, which I think is July 13th, but I will be there at the second one, and I really want to have that TERS on our agenda to vote. If we're going to have a conversation about it, I want it out in the open, I want us talking about it, and I want us to just vote on it and see if we can go from there, because I am in tremendous favor of this project, and I'm not the only one. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Ms. Russo. Yes. Our illustrious mayor.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all very briefly. For 5 years, I've been telling people that one of the saddest things about our community is that 80% of the tax money that we collect comes from residential property owners, and 20% comes from commercial property. The only thing that I can see, and I've been saying this for 5 years now, that will fix that problem is to increase the tax base enough. We'll never get it to 50-50, but if we could get it to 60-40, that would cut the tax rate in half for the people.
Would be help, that would
And
be very helpful.
if we could get this project done, I believe it would do that. And hope I can hang around long enough to see that happen. Thank you.
You're not the only one who hopes for that. No, I think you can all see that the district has really wanted this property developed Otherwise, we would not have been spending the amount of money and time that we have throughout the years. And anyone else would like to say anything? No?
Let's just say, please forgive me for being late. Had a family issue develop this morning and just couldn't get it completed in time.
That's okay. Understood completely. We've all had those. Thank you. Anyone else? Everyone who wants to say something is welcome to do so. No? Okay. Well, thank you all again. I think this was very informative. We've been live streaming it. Hopefully our equipment worked. We did have a power surge within the last few days, so that concludes the formal presentation. Thank you. Thank you.